All right, well, thanks for joining us for this last session of the school year of Level Up with Learning Site. Tonight we are talking about assigning and assessing within Learning Site. So we'll get going here in a moment. Just so everybody knows, we are recording this session. So if you miss anything, or if you'd like to go back and rewatch, we will send the recording out in the follow-up email after this session. My name is Alexis Buschert. I am a former Spanish teacher out here in Oregon, and now I work for Wayside Publishing. And Amy is my fantastic producer tonight. Amy, please tell the people about yourself.
Hello, I am Amy, and I'm a former German and Spanish teacher, and I am located in Maryland. Glad you're here with us today.
Thank you so much. Now, Amy will be watching the chat. And the chat really in this format is there's a Q&A bubble at the top of your screen. There's a little button with a question mark. You can put any questions or comments into that area, and you won't be able to see other people's comments or questions, but Amy can see them. So if you think, oh, nobody else is writing questions, don't worry. People are writing questions in there, and Amy is furiously writing away back to them. Sometimes Amy will interrupt me so that I can address some of the questions if they happen more than once, or if it's like a big question that I need to show on the screen, or she'll just be getting back to you in that chat. So feel free to put in anything in the question and answer. And then any links that Amy is sharing, she'll put in the chat part. So you won't be able to write in the chat, but you'll see things from us in the chat. So hopefully that was clear enough, and you'll be able to interact with us during this webinar. We have a couple of polls for you so that we know our audience, because it's important for us to know who we're talking to. So the first poll that we're going to launch here is, which language do you teach? So on your screen, you should see a poll in just a moment. Do you teach French, German, Italian, or Spanish? Give you a couple more seconds. Overwhelmingly Spanish tonight, with some Frenchies and one German teacher. Awesome. Thank you. Okay, so mostly Spanish, but I'll try and show examples from French and German as well. The next question is, which Wayside product or products do you and your students use? Pay attention to the copyright date on there. So the Entre Culturas 2023 and Entre Culture 2025 are the previous edition, and then the Entre Culturas 2025 and Entre Culture 2027 are the newer edition. So if you're answering with one of those, please be sure you pick the correct one. We are all over the place here, and I like it. Most people are using the previous edition of Entre Culturas and Entre Culture. So I'm going to demo. I'll demo from both tonight, but I'll just make sure that we see from both. So thank you for putting that in there. That's super helpful. All right, and then we have another question. Which learning management system or LMS do you and your students use? You may or may not use it with your Wayside product. And if you don't, that's okay. It's good for us to know. Ooh, Schoology. Would you have guessed that, Amy? I would not have guessed.
It's kind of going back and forth now. Yep, so what Lexi is going to show you today might look a little different if you are using an LMS. So if you have any questions, you can put those in that Q&A. I'll do my best to answer any kind of individual questions. But that is what I do. I work with teachers who are using Learning Site integrated with an LMS. And so I can hopefully answer any questions you may have about that in the background.
All right. Thank you for sharing that information with us. That's super helpful as we move through and as we demo tonight, so we know which ones we're showing. Our last webinar, we talked about backward design. There's 3 steps to backward design. That first one is identifying the desired results. So we talked about unit goals and essential questions and how those can guide us in planning and finding things in our resources. Tonight, we're talking about step 2, which is determining assessment evidence. And so that's going to help us assess students, see how they're doing, give them feedback, and that's going to tie into step 1 of backward design of how are they doing with those unit goals and essential questions. So first, we're going to look at assigning. How do we assign things in Learning Site, whether that's an assessment or just a regular activity that you'd like to assign? How do we grade, and how do we leave feedback? So those are all important pieces of making sure that our students are learning the material and are feeling successful with it. We'll talk about assessments, and remember that all of our assessments with our French, Spanish, and German series are performance-based assessments. So students are going to see tasks in all 3 modes of communication: interpretive, interpersonal, and presentational. And we offer formative and summative assessments. So I'm a Spanish teacher, and so I probably will end up defaulting to En Camino and Vive Entre Culturas for my formative and summative assessments. But for your French teachers, remember that your formatives are called J'avance and your summative are called J'y arrive. And for our German teachers, our formative assessments are called Unterwegs and our summative assessments are called Ziel erreicht. So if I default to Spanish while I'm talking, which I'm sorry if I do that, then just know for my French and German teachers that you have an equivalent in your language too. And then we will touch on portfolio a little bit. As you're looking through the series, you'll notice that there are can-do statements throughout, both in the assessment pages and in all of the other pages. And these are great unit objectives for you as the teacher as you're planning. And they're also great check-ins for students as they're going through. And so students can reflect on these can-do statements in the online portfolio. So we'll look at how to find those can-do statements. You can even assign them as an assignment. We are going to look at where students are going to enter their evidence and how you as the teacher can go in and review. So all of those things we're going to cover tonight in the time that we have available. So I am going to pop over to Learning Site. So the first thing we are going to do is talk about assigning. And you may have noticed if you have the older edition or the newer edition, or if you're teaching German, that your dashboard looks a little bit different than it used to. So now you have much more information than you previously had on that dashboard when it comes to assignments. So for example, here I can see how my students are doing based on performance. From the teacher point of view, I can see what I need to go in and review, what is overdue, and what is due coming up. And then I can even pop open this window down here and look at different assignments based on a calendar day. So if you have not noticed this or played around with your new dashboard, be sure to do that because it's giving you a great snapshot of information right when you log in and go to your main page. All right, so I'm going to demo from my previous edition here since most of you are using that. I'll start here first. One thing I'd like to point out from this new dashboard is I can actually assign right from here. So if I know where I'm at approximately in the book and what I'd like to assign, I can select Add Assignment, and it's going to bring me to an assignment window. I can choose either my text or the reader here. I'm going to choose my text, and then go down to my unit, and then my section. I know I'm in Así se dice dos, which is on pages 214 to 221. That'll help locate me, orient me a little bit. And then from here, I can assign some tasks directly from this window. I can also hover over this little eye to see what kind of assignment I am doing. So I really like this because let's say I woke up and I don't feel very good. I don't want to go to work today because I'm sick, but I need to assign a couple of things real quick so that my students have something to do with my sub. I can open these extensión activities. These are going to be additional on top of what's in the textbook already in this first edition, and select a few of those assignments. So let's say, oh boy, I bet this many assignments will get them through the period. And then I can go to next steps over here, select my period. You remember you can select multiple periods. And then I can come to this assigning window, select a date that I'd like to, a due date. Oh no, sorry. This is when do I want it to post. So do I want it to post now or post at a different day? Since I'm going to be gone today and I want them to do it today, I'm going to post right now. I can add additional instructions for them. So I can say, do this on your own today in Spanish, because even if they're in Spanish 3, sometimes they'll still ask you if you want them to do it in the target language. And then I'm going to pick a due date down here. So I want it to be due on Thursday, and I can change the time. And then down here in this window, these are a couple of new things. So, I mean, new as in they've happened this school year. So maybe if you're like me, when I am teaching, I am so busy, I don't have time to really look through things. So if you have not had a moment to slow down and look through this year, which I totally understand, it happens to everybody. We'll just take a second to look here. You now have the option to exclude these from your final grade calculation. So before, everything went into the gradebook automatically, and you can see the default here is for all of these to be included. But if you don't want something included in your grade, you can exclude it, and now it won't be included in the student grade. So just keep in mind that you do have that option. And then this, again, new for this school year, is a great tool down here, hide student task submission results. So let's say that you assign a multiple choice task and the student does the multiple choice task. They can go in and see which questions were incorrect. They're not going to see the correct answer. They'll just see if it's incorrect. So for example, if it's a true false activity and students see which ones they got wrong, they know when they do it again, oh, it's just true instead of false, or vice versa, right? But right here, I can hide their submission results. So that way they'll see, oh, I got a 5 out of 10 or whatever it is, but they won't see which ones were correct and incorrect. So if you do not want students to see that, mark that one before you assign. And you can also hide until it's date specified. So I'm going to hit assign. And now I have created that assignment for my students. And again, we got here just by going to this add assignment button right here on your dashboard. With this first edition, I actually taught with the first edition, so I know it pretty well. I really liked going in through the flex text and assigning through there because I did not plan super far ahead. I like to plan the morning of, or sometimes in the middle of teaching. And one thing that you could do with this flex text is as you're projecting this book up for your students and you're talking about the different things. So if I'm teaching this lesson to my students and we've got all this vocab here and I've got it up on the screen and I'm showing them the vocab, and then I think, you know what? I should probably assign some practice for them. I can go right up here to this compass icon and all of the related tasks will appear. And from here, I can assign directly from this actions dropdown. So I can select assign, go through that same assigning process, and it will assign to students. If you're more organized than me and you weren't assigning in the moment from the flex text, maybe you're in your Explorer content over here where you've got all of your folders with all the content organized. You can also find those assignments here. And you can assign from there. So you've got, let me zoom in a little bit so you can see it better. Under each of the assignments or tasks, learning side tasks, you have a little assign button there. You can select that and it'll take you to assign. All right, so that is from the previous editions of Entre Culturas and Entre Culture. Now let's look at the newer edition and see what that assigning process is here. Again, you've got this assignment, assignments drop down on your dashboard, so you could use that add assignment button. But we're going to go in through learning materials and find a section here that we would like to assign. So I just use my table of contents over here on the left to open different sections. Again, we'll have action buttons here, so a little bit different from first edition, but here we've just got this actions drop down and I can assign directly from there, and it's going to take me through the same assigning windows that we saw earlier. If I'm in the newer edition and I'm in my student ebook, again, this is a new update too. So if you have only been looking at the teacher edition, of the ebook and you haven't seen the student edition, this is pretty exciting. We now have linked interactive text in the student edition of the book. So if I've got my ebook up, and again, we've been talking about this, and I decided, you know what, I do actually want to look at this task right here. We were just going to do it in the book, but now I want to see what it looks like online. You can select the title, and it'll open the activity over here on the side. Maybe in class we've been talking about this, and we just want to answer together, so I can come down here and we can answer this together. Or again, I can select the actions and assign directly from here. All right, one more way. So we looked at assigning through ebooks, assigning through learning materials. You also have an assignments tab, both for the older edition and this edition. And in the assignments tab, you have this add assignments button. So if I select this add assignments button, this is similar to what we saw on that dashboard with the add assignments button. You can come in here. You have the option of selecting the standard pathway, which is going to be all course content, or the can-do pathway, which are activities associated with the can-do statement. So this will kind of narrow down the amount of activities just to follow that can-do pathway if you're interested in that. But I'm just going to go with the standard pathway here. And I'm going to select my unit. And something that's nice about assigning from this assignment path or assignment window is you have the option to assign the Newelling practice. So this will give them a link that'll take them specifically to that section in Newelling. So you can select that. I am going to go into this set about right here. And so let's say I want to select all of these and assign. Another nice thing is anytime there's a can-do statement that appears on those pages, you can add that can-do statement and assign it with all these other tasks. The can-do statements aren't graded, so they're not going to show up in the grade book, but it at least gives the student a little flag like, hey, I need you to reflect on this can-do statement, please. And that will show up for them in their assignments. All right, lots of different ways for assignments. So now, let's say that your students have gone in and done those assignments. Now we are going to enter some grades or look at the grades. So I'm going to head over to my grade book here. You'll notice that anything that's auto-graded, so multiple choice, fill in the blank, matching, anything like that will automatically appear in my grade book here. Anything that I need to go in and grade will appear with a blue dot like this one here. So I am actually, this student completed this 3 parts of this formative assessment. So there's an interpretive, interpersonal, and presentational task. So we're going to go through and look at the student's work. The first thing that this student did, they watched a video and then they answered some questions. So I can look at their responses here from the video that they watched. And then over here on the right, I can enter a grade. I have my grade book set to points. And so everything's going to be out of 10 points unless I adjust the settings. So I'm going to give them an 8 out of 10. And I can also leave them some feedback. So maybe I want to pronounce some or correct some spelling here. I can leave a comment. I can also leave a video or audio comment. So if I have something longer that I want to say and I don't want to type it all out, I could select that and record a short video or audio and send that to them also. Okay, so there I've graded this task. You'll also notice if it's a more performance-based task, sometimes you'll see this rubric here that might help you too if you open that up, if you're curious. So there's the interpretive task. Now we're going to go into an interpersonal task. So in this one, I'm hoping that I'm sharing my sound so we can hear. So Amy, let me know if we're not hearing my sound. Okay, this is a comparative recording. And in this comparative recording, it's a AP style task from this year's AP test where the computer is going to ask them questions and they are giving their answers. So the student went through and recorded this conversation. You have the option of including the prompt audio. So The prompt audio is Juan in this case, who is the computer talking. So I'm going to include it just so we have some context here. And then you'll hear the student responses afterwards. So we're going to listen to just a little bit of this so you can hear what the student submitted and then how I can leave feedback on it. Okay, so you heard the prompt and then you heard the response from the student. And then I selected add comment, and what it's doing is it's time stamping the comment. So right there at 10 seconds, it's telling the student that I am leaving a comment. So when they go back and review the comments, they can see what part of that audio clip that I'm referring to. So I might say something like, this is something I say to my students a lot, add more details.
Always add more details. I could not hear your prompt, so you might want to try it again. No. I don't know if anyone else could hear it, but I was not able to hear it.
Okay, so we'll listen to a little bit more of this clip so you can get an idea of it. Thank you.
Bueno, como sabes, yo desayuno entre las 5 y las 6 de la mañana. ¿Y tú? ¿A qué hora tomas el desayuno los días de clases?
Desayuno a las 7:30. Okay, so that was the prompt, and then that was the student response. So then again, I paused it, but I could have just clicked add comment. So we saw a written comment earlier. So I'm going to select add recording. So this will actually allow me to leave a audio or video comment on here. So let's say that their pronunciation wasn't so great, so I'm going to add a little note for them. Yo desayuno a las 7:30. Okay, so now I have left them this written comment at 10 seconds and then this audio comment at 25 seconds. So now after I submit this to the student, they'll be able to come in here, look at the comments and see exactly where in their clip that applies to. Okay, so let's say I've listened to this whole thing and I've gotten a really good idea, left all the comments that I want to leave for them. Then I can come up here and leave my grade. So I thought they did a pretty good job. I'm going to give them a 10. And then I can select, this isn't required, but you can select a proficiency performance rating if you'd like. So I'm going to give the student a novice high. I thought they sounded really good. And then any additional feedback that I want to leave, I can leave right here. Or again, I can record more audio and video. All right, Amy, how are we doing? Do we have any questions so far?
Not related to this here. So okay. I think we're good at this point. Yep.
All right, thank you. All right, so that was an audio clip. So now we're going to look at a video clip. So now same thing, the student recorded a video talking about what they eat. Hola, en el desayuno comemos huevos y bebemos. So then again, select that add comment button. We'll pause the video, add that timestamp, and then I can say in there, my favorite comment, more details. And then again, that student knows at that time period, that was my comment for what they said. And then up here, same thing, grading window, add my points, add my performance rating, and then any additional comments. So the beauty of this is that you have the opportunity to leave as much feedback as you want. If you don't want to leave any of these comments and just come in here and give a quick grade after you listen, you can do that. But if you would like to leave time stamped at the second, either written or audio video comment, you can do that. Over here on the right, you can leave a performance rating in addition to your number grade and more feedback. So if you'd like to get very detailed, you can do that, and then students can go back in and look at that at any time. To navigate between students, let's say I had more than one student do this assignment, you'd be able to navigate using this drop down or the arrows back and forth to find more. One more thing I'd like to point out here with the written, with any kind of assignment where you are going in and grading and leaving feedback, if it's a written example, so for example, the student had to write out a list of fruits, you can highlight and then leave a comment. You can change the color of the highlight and then leave your comment. So then when students go in to review this, they can just select the highlighted section and then access the comment that you left for them. Again, anytime you've got those blue dots in your gradebook, that is something that you need to go in and review. And another way to find this, if you are in your dashboard here, you'll see it says to review. These are assignments that I need to go in and grade. I can select that box right there and it'll bring up all the different assignments where I've got places to review, and I can find the same task for me there. And go down here and select the student. All right, so we've looked at grades from that grades tab. So you can access it with the grades tab. You can also use this information up here to help you out if you want to get an overall snapshot for your class. And you can also go down here, and I like this too because it shows me really quickly how many submitted. I always know that that's really helpful. And that way I know, oh, you know, if I only had 2 kids out of 35 submit, maybe I need to give them a little more time, or maybe I need to give them a little more instruction before they're able to do it on their own. You are able, so if we're in that situation that I just mentioned where, you know, you only have 2 out of 35 students that did it and maybe they need more time, you are always able to go into your assignments, find that assignment, and then edit the details. So for example, I can see nobody did this assignment. Maybe we didn't get to it that day. So I'm going to actually move it to a different time and then just assign from there. All right. How are we doing? Questions?
I think we're doing okay. Just wanted to remind everyone, I put in the chat that we do have a variety of page guides available on our Guides to Get You Started page. So if we went through the assigning process and there was still something that you were unclear about, we do have an assignments guide that shows you how to assign, just like what Alexis just showed you. You can also, and this will come back later as well, you can also use the Can Do owl icon at the bottom right of your screen. See if he's on there.
Oh.
Can
Did he fly the coop today?
I don't know. It's looking like he may have. Okay, he might not be there. You can also find him. Usually there's a little tiny Can Do owl icon on the bottom right-hand side of Learning Site, and that is where you're able to find him. He looks like he did fly the coop. We will have to go chase him and bring him back. You can also use the help menu on the bottom left-hand side. In there, there's also a link to those page guides as well. So where it says Getting Started, I believe Getting Started Guides at the top will take you to that page. So if we went through anything a little bit too fast, or if you just want a quick review, have specific questions, you can use those guides.
All right. Now we're going to move on. Thanks, Amy. Thank you so much. Best producer ever. Okay, we're going to move on to assessments, and I'm going to go back to the first edition here because I think we had more people from the first edition in here. And I'll talk a little bit about what worked for me the best when I was teaching with Entre Culturas, is to look at the assessment in the book, because the book first, that's what I did first, because the book is going to give you and students a snapshot of what that assessment is, even before they start the unit. And that's what backwards planning is all about, right? Is knowing where you're going, what is that end goal. So for students and teachers to kind of get an idea of that assessment is just like helping you decide what you're working towards along the way. So every time that you see one of these summative assessments, they'll have the essential question. They're going to have a description of a context. So in this case, we've got a food truck. We've got our interpretive task, our interpersonal task, and our presentational task. So students and you will be able to go read ahead of time. And as the teacher, I actually liked to print out the whole assessment and take it myself just so I know what's coming up. So over here on the left-hand side, I can use my table of contents to do that with this Vive Entre Culturas summative assessment and also the In Camino formative assessment. Again, I can look ahead and see what students are going to need to do. With these assessments, you have the option of assigning and completing them online or printing out and having students do a paper and pencil version. So for this one, students are going to read about a food truck in the Dominican Republic that sells traditional food from Mexico. Look at the images and map, discuss them with your teacher before you do the assessments in Explore based on this reading. If I select my compass here, I'll be able to find my resources. For the assessments, you'll typically see the rubrics listed with them. You'll see a document with all of the materials, and then you'll see an online task. So another pro tip here with the first edition, if you select the box with the arrow in it, it will open in a new tab. So that way you don't have to keep clicking back to find what you were doing. That's, I think, very helpful. So here, this is the first one I opened. I'm going to click download on there. This is the PDF of the whole task. So here students are reading, and then they've got their little article here, and then they've got their questions for this task. Now we've got our interpersonal assessment, and then where they're writing a text message to a friend, and there's a template for that. And then for their presentational task, students are going to design and promote a food truck. So these PDF documents are going to have all of the tasks. So I know one thing that's brought up frequently when we do trainings or talk to teachers is how do we make sure that students are doing their own work and they're not relying on translators or AI or anything like that to help them do that. So one way is just to go back to paper and pencil. I've been hearing that from teachers a lot lately is they like, you know, the low tech option, especially for assessment, and the printable versions allow you to do that. So you can print this document and give it to students where they're actually filling it out by hand. You also have the option to do all of these tasks virtually. So when I selected the other link here, it opened up an online task. Oh, actually, this is going to be a place for them to submit their PDF. So it's the PDF option, and they can complete it online. So they would go in and actually type into these. They can type into all of these boxes. They're going to go up here, save with their changes, and then it's wanting me to save already. They're going to save with their changes, and then they're going to upload and submit. So if you do want the tech option, that's going to be the tech option for this one. There's different ones based on what the tasks are for the assessment. So like if they're recording something, oftentimes it'll have a task with that little record box where they make a video and submit. So students can do the assessment digitally that way. So just keep in mind, again, you have the option to always print, or you can assign it online and have students complete online, completely up to you. All right, let's head over to the new edition because it's going to be a little bit different there. So same thing, I've got my Vive Entre Culturas summative, and then the Comunicación sections are going to have my In Camino formatives. So I'm going to open my summative here. You'll see the rubric, answers, sample answers, and then we come to our interpretive task. In this case, students are watching this video and then answering true, false questions. So again, this is set up to do digitally. I'll show you the print version in just a moment, but it's very easy to just assign this to students when you're ready for them to do it. Here we're having one of those comparative recording conversations where the computer's asking them questions and they're submitting their answers. This one would be something that I would probably do online just because it's all set up for students to record their responses with their conversation with the computer. You could do a version of this where, you know, offline, where you're asking the questions to students and they're answering. It just depends on if you want them to have that experience of chatting with the computer or not. And then our presentational task here, they're creating kind of a fusion meal using this graphic organizer. Again, they can type directly into here or they can do it by hand. So let's say that you're using the newer edition and you don't want them to do these tasks online. There is a way to find the printable versions. So I'm going to go up here to resources and then assessment program. And then you'll find a folder with the summative assessment pieces and the formative assessment pieces. So I'll go to my summative assessment here and you'll see there's the printable versions, the answers, and the rubrics. So this is where you're going to get that really nice printable version of the assessment in that PDF format, like with the name line and the colors and everything. So you could absolutely print this out. This will give this comparative recording. So when we saw it on here, it just gave them, it didn't give them a lot of information. It just said they're going to record and they'd actually have to listen to record. So let me find that task. Oh, sorry. Here we go. So they actually have to listen to hear. It's not giving them a lot. It's kind of like the AP test, right? Where it's just giving them, oh, here's what you're going to hear, but not exactly what you're going to hear. The printable version does give you the text of what the computer says. So you don't have to give this paper to students if you don't want to, but if you want to help them plan a little bit more, you could absolutely give this to them so they have a little bit of heads up about what those questions are going to be. Or if you want to be the one asking those questions, you could use this document to help facilitate that conversation. And then finally down here, that presentational piece. So again, keep in mind all assessment pieces could be assigned in Learning Site in either edition or could be printed for that paper and pencil experience. Any questions about assessments?
I have one question about functionality, and I'm not sure if I understand the question. Maybe you will. We had a request that you could repeat how to open a new tab. So you do not have to go back all the way to find something. So the box to select the option with the arrow. Thank you for the detailed description. I was answering another question, so I missed what was going on in the, on the screen. So at least you know what, you know what's being talked about.
That's one of my favorite pro tips. All right, when I select the compass, so I'm back in first edition. When I select the compass, you'll see this little box with the arrow here. So if I select the box with the arrow, it opens it in a new tab instead of in a new window.
Understand.
Yes. You could also, though, and this applies to any edition or any website, period. You can always right click on something and then open a new tab. Of course, mine's not doing that right now that I'm trying to do it. Oh, it just, yeah. So having that little box with the arrow is a nice little hack so that you don't have to keep going back and forth. And instead have all your tabs nicely organized across the top there.
Yes. Okay. She says thank you.
You're welcome. It's those things where, you know, if you've been using something for a while and then you just never thought of it and then somebody points it out, it's like, oh, wow.
Yep. Well, I knew that was there, but I didn't know what it, since I missed the you doing it there, I totally missed that that's what she was talking about. Thank you. Context. Good word. Thank you.
Yeah, totally. Okay. Well, since I have a minute before we dive into our portfolio, I also wanted to point out, make sure you look at your resources, either edition that you're using. So here I'm in the first edition and I went to my Solo para Profesores, trying to think what it is in French, Ressources pour les enseignants. Remember that you have a midterm and final exams material folder, so that'll have pieces of assessments that you can use and put together. So remember that you have access to that if you would like some more performance-based assessment type tasks. And if you scroll to the bottom, again, that's in first edition. If you scroll to the bottom, you'll find alternate objective tests. That's a very fancy way of saying multiple choice tests on the unit content. So you'll see here, we've got Unit 4, así se dice, so vocabulary, Unit 4, observa, grammar, culture, and then reading comprehension. So if you have students that need accommodation with extra help, this is a great resource for them. If you need some kind of like practice test or review, you could use this. If something happened, you had a snow week and missed a whole week of school and you just need to move on to the next unit and you don't want to do the full integrated performance assessment, you could just use these multiple choice tests to kind of see how students did with the unit content and then move on. So there's tons and tons of things you can do with these multiple choice. Again, we call them alternate objective tests. We'll look at an example here. I'm looking at the teacher view, so I've got my answers. But yeah, it is a nice alternative to have. These will print, just not in the beautiful PDF format with the heading and everything, but you can go to more and then print, and it'll give you a printable version of these alternate objective tests. So again, to find these, you're going to go to resources. Again, I'm in first edition. Resources, then only for teachers, and then down at the very bottom, alternate objective tests. In the new edition and in German, when I say newer edition, that applies to the newer editions of Entre Culturas, and just Interculturell German. If we go to learning materials and then go to our resources and then assessment program, this is where you'll find your midterm and final assessments and those alternate objective tests. So we do have those for the newer editions as well. So again, pro tip, maybe you missed that on your first round or haven't ever had a chance to look through that resources folder. Highly recommend, because you'll find some gems like that in there. Let's look at our portfolio. I am going to pop open my menu over here on the left-hand side, and you'll notice a link that says portfolio. Here, I will find any text and classes that I teach. I am going to go to my Entre Culturas class, and over here on the side, you'll see your students, and then you'll see all the can-do statements. Now, there are many, many, many can-do statements. You'll see this level has 154 can-do statements, but you can use these filters to help you find what is specifically going to be the most helpful for you. So I know that we've been working on Unit 4, and I assigned a few of them, so I'm just going to select my completed ones to see the ones that the student has done. And here, students have the ability to rate themselves on a scale of 1 to 3. So it shows over here on the side 1, 2, or 3. So this case, the students rated themselves a 3, and then they've attached a file as evidence. And then if they wrote any additional reflection, it'll appear down here on the bottom. And then you can add a comment on these. So if you wanted to just say, hey, good job, I see what you're doing, something like that. Or if you wanted to record even audio or video to stick it in there, you can add more. So you'll notice these can-do statements touch on all 3 modes of communication. And then we've got intercultural can-do statements as well, where students are analyzing cultural pieces. So in this can-do statement, the student assessed themselves a 3, and then me as the teacher went in and left a comment. So remember, using that assignments tab, even here in the portfolio, it's like, hey, you want to add some of those can-do statements, you can. So you can go up here to this add assignment and find those can-do statements within the units and assign those just to show students like, hey, go in on your own and update those can-do statements. And we're going to take a moment here. I'll show you from the student point of view, because the design and the intention of those can-do statements is for students to reflect on their own learning. So while we can assign them, they're not graded, because we want students to reflect on what they're doing without a grade. But it's also just kind of student self-directed. That's kind of the spirit of it. And so I think it's helpful to see it from the student point of view. So I'm going to go in here. Here's my student account. And I'm going to go over to my portfolio. And again, huge list of can-do statements, but I can use my filters over here. So I know we're working on Unit 4 right now. Maybe I just want to filter by mode of communication, or if they've been assigned or not, I can decide. I'm just going to go and look at my interpersonal can-do statements. So as a student, I can see I've already updated progress on those two, and I'm going to update progress on this one right here. So here I am, the student again. I can change my progress. Do I want to rate this a 1, 2, or 3? And it gives them a guidance. Like this is still a goal for me. I can do this with help, or I can do this independently. I can exchange information about food preferences. I feel pretty confident about that I can do that independently. So I'm going to save that. And then down here, do I want to add evidence? I can attach a file so I can upload something that I've already completed. I can add a task. This will allow me to include a completed learning site task. So it'll bring up a list of all my completed learning site tasks, and I'll say, oh, you know what? I think this one is a conversation. I got 90% on it. I think that's a pretty good demonstration of my ability. So I'm going to attach that on there. I could also just record something in the moment. I can add a reflection if I want to talk about how I feel about it or how I think I did. I can add that there. And then I can save it. I saved it up here, added my attempt, and then I have updated my can-do statement. So again, student point of view, it's for them to go in and really reflect on their learning and how they've done, and maybe what they can do better. They can also go in and change anything on here. So if they initially rated themselves a 1 and they go back and rate themselves a 3, they can just update that there too. Any questions about portfolio or assessments?
I had a question about some of the alternate objective tests. So going back there, sorry, I know we're skipping.
That's okay.
Back to that section, even though we were in portfolio.
No problem.
So let's see. This is for 1B first edition.
Okay.
So it says I can find the alternative objective tests for Entre Culturas 1B first edition for only Unit 6 and final exam. What about Units 3, 4, and 5? I don't know if you're able to find
I don't think I
have.
I don't have 1A and 1B on here anymore, but we will look into that.
Okay, and I don't have one of those either in my
I don't have a 1A, 1B. We will look into that. Thank you for letting us know.
And I think that was it.
Okay. All right, well, that is everything. Well, almost everything that we have prepared for you. We do have a couple of requests. We do have a couple of requests from you. We would love your feedback. Amy and I have been doing these Level Up with Learning Site webinars all year, this school year, to just let teachers know what's new with Learning Site, all of the things that you can do with Learning Site, and things that we know that are coming out in the future. And we are actually hoping to continue this again next school year. So your feedback will help us make this series the best that it can be. So if you don't mind taking a moment and just putting in some feedback for us so that we can continue these in the future, you can either scan that QR code or select the link that Amy is putting in the chat.
It is there.
Thank you so much. All right, the next thing that we have for you, you do get a certificate of participation this evening for attending. You get proof that you had 1 hour of professional development. So you can either scan that QR code or select the link that Amy has put in the chat. This will bring up a form. You are going to fill out the form, and then a certificate will be emailed to you. If you do not get that certificate in your email in the next few days, let us know, or check your junk folder and then let us know, but it should be coming to you via email. And I know we all love proof of PDUs. It's very important. All right, and finally, we are preparing our fantastic summer professional development program that we like to call Poolside Proficiency. So you can either scan that QR code or select the link in the chat to sign up to learn more about that. And this is summer PD, so we try to keep it light and fresh and fun, keep you kind of thinking about school and brainstorming and planning and dreaming while still relaxing and enjoying your well-deserved summer break. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. It has been a pleasure to talk to you all about learning sites. And Amy, thank you so much. You've been such a good producer.
Thank you. You've been a wonderful host.
Oh, thanks. And thank you to all for being here and spending your time with us. We know that hanging out with us after you've been teaching all day is always a challenge, but we appreciate that you take the time to come and learn with us. So we hope you took something away that was helpful today. And we wish you a wonderful evening and a great rest of the school year. And we hope to see you again at one of our webinars. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a nice evening.